Mama.
I didn't dare.
Just look at the mixed Anglo-Saxons.
I was so happy that my mother died, and now I have so many.
Latin,
Yeah.
they lay in the Latins.
He's only naughty because his girlfriend is not around.
What?
Just wait a few weeks and we'll be ready.
No, 5 days.
5 days more.
Yeah, before she arrives in India.
And then you are,
No, then I have to wait and see when she actually comes here.
if she comes at all.
If she comes at all.
So what do you wish for?
I don't wish for anything, mate. I'm ready.
That's quite a big wish, I tell you.
Yeah, I know. I wished to wish for nothing. But then I didn't wish it at all. I just wished me.
Wishy-washy, wishing nothing.
Wish!
Actually, he's the son of Mahavashi Yogi.
Who? Mahesh Marishi
Mahavishi-Washi.
Maharishi Wishy-Washy. Oh yeah, from the pantomime.
From the TM.
From the pantomime.
Transcendental
Wishy-Washy was in the
Mothership.
pantomime.
Transcendental Mothership. Unlimited.
Don't be so wishy-washy. Be more direct and to the point. Say what you mean. I mean what you say.
No.
No. Never.
Then I would be too mean.
Yeah. You'd close the back door, wouldn't you?
If I would,
But I'm an aimless.
if I would
My back door's always
if
open.
I meant what I said, it would be too mean.
That's a fucking horrible story.
That's why all the cable is lovely. It's all that yoga practice, restricted your anal muscles and all that, you know.
So, now we are complete. Was pain arrived? Totally exhausted from building a house.
Yes. Now finish, relax.
You finish the house and then you went.
Yeah.
That's maybe.
Have you flooded today?
So, actually next week he has his own rooftop.
What?
He has his own rooftop. And then you will see.
But there won't be anybody there.
But you will talk anyway.
Oh no.
So what's the difference?
No difference at all.
So what do you
I always have an audience.
Yeah.
I am my great fan.
You know about shamanism?
What?
About shamanism? You.
Me?
Yeah. And what do you know about spirits?
What?
Spirits in the nature.
In the nature? What's about the spirits which are not in nature? Are there some natural spirits and some unnatural spirits? This is an unnatural spirit in Aristotle. He was totally attracted. What are you talking about?
So in the shamanism, they talk about the missing spirits in different levels. And,
Like you. I see you now. Yeah.
So I wanted to know if you were, I don't know, on the mountain.
In the mountains. What are we talking here about? About esoteric spirit shamanism? I have no idea. I give a fuck, I tell you. I don't give a fuck about their spirits or not. I'm happy that this is over, this question. Seeing spirits everywhere and dark forces maybe. You have to ask Muji because he thinks there are dark forces working against him here in Tiru.
He suggested the use of black magic actually in one of his little videos.
He is part of the dark forces. Look at it. He is the leader of the dark forces of alien power against Mujiism.
Puppeteerism. Puppet G.
Puppeting.
Puppet G. Oh no, puppet G. Another puppet of puppet G.
So in that sense, really I give a shit. There are so many who are talking about it here and blah 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 and whatever. What are you interested in here? About spirits in the mountain?
Because I was in Australia.
You what?
I lived in Australia in the desert.
No.
And the Aboriginal people, before they enter the land, they talk to the spirits to protect them.
Yeah, when you fear something, you talk to an imaginary spirit. It's like whole religion is an imaginary God everyone talks to, praying. What is that? An imaginary spirit because everyone is afraid. What's the difference? It's everywhere. Fear, creating an imaginary spirit or helping ghost. Please help me, save me. Around the world, or every bloody person has a spirit he talks to himself. Please, there's no me. If it's not himself, it's his wife. Or that's why people marry. You have a helping spirit, just in case you need one. Just in case. You need a defense system in here. If you think you cannot defend yourself, you need another soldier next to you. Then you need an imaginary soldier somewhere. Fuck it all. All comes from bloody fear. Or 5.
Fear not.
Fear 4. Fearless. Well, it's all part of existential fear.
Fear more. More fear.
So, I fear that one day he will stop talking and then I will be wondering my rest of my life what stopped him.
So you cannot do it?
I have no interest.
But when you,
What?
when you have an interest, could you do it?
I have no idea. I tell you, again, I give a shit if I could do it or not. He talks because I made him talk, as well I am. So why have I an interest of stopping him? It will stop by itself. It started by itself, it will stop by itself. Why should I have an interest in it? No. Do you have an interest?
It's not obvious.
Ooh, that'd be cruel.
Just go to bed with him, maybe that stops him. No, he always gets afraid. That's the only way of stopping someone talking. When his dictionary is somewhere else.
And your dick's occupied with dictionary fails you. Everything fails.
Now the upper dick is talking,
Yeah.
and
And then the lower dick takes over.
That's all the intention.
Yeah. Then you lose yourself in an orgasmic moment. You two become one. Then you say, fuck off and have a fag.
If you would be together with a guy like that, you would not complain anymore.
It's true.
Because there would be no pause between his talking. It's just technique to make his girlfriend speechless. Talking more than her. That's really like an art. A man talking more than the girlfriend. That's the rarest you can ever find.
Oh no.
So what's about anything more?
I'm trying to understand what you're not teaching. I went for a walk around the hill last night, and I noticed a narrative being spoken in my head. Imagining meeting a friend back in England, how I was in the house at the time. And then I saw, oh, this is my sense of I talking.
No, it's like your Trinity inside. So,
My Trinity.
me, myself, and I walking. For me, myself and I, and then talking. Like a self-disgusting itself.
Yeah.
It's disgusting, but it's...
Yeah, so in the Vedanta tradition, it might be when you spot that, you might discriminate, resolve it, say, oh, that can't be me. So, but what would you suggest? Because it's like being handcuffed to Woody Allen. You know, it's just...
No, I would say just don't know.
Just don't know what to do.
No, just don't know what you are and what you're not. Again, innately. To say I'm not that is not enough. You have to say I don't know if I'm that or not. And remain in that undecided. Because if you say I am not that, you become one who is not that. And that leads just to another whatever. Just another escape point. You just look for a reference point which is more like you take refuge in a different reference point which is more nice maybe.
So if it continues, you just go, I don't know.
You neither do or don't do, you just, this is Buddha's middle class, being undecided. Neither being or not being. If you don't know what you are not, what else? Then you're already the Tao or the Tao, what doesn't know what is the Tao or what is not the Tao. So by being the self, it doesn't know the self or not knowing the self. You can say you don't know yourself relatively, but you have to know that you don't have to know yourself relatively. You have knowledge that you are is uninterrupted. But it's not a technique. No. It's more like being what you cannot not be. So it's not like landing somewhere, which is different than this one. Otherwise you're landing somewhere and then you have to depart again, because you cannot stay there. So it's all transitory. But only that what never knows what it is and what is not temporary. That is uninterrupted what you are. It was, is and will be. That what is knowledge, you never knows anything, or doesn't know whatever. That is more than easy, because that's your nature. And the nature never needs to be attained by anything. It cannot be attained by anyone. So, have to do it. Now the steering of it. Some more in the book? Any more questions?
I know you don't have, but I haven't.
Big book, but only one question. And that cannot be taught. You see this. That I'm being undecided, it cannot be taught. This not knowing, you cannot learn. That's the beauty of it. You cannot be dependent or learned one who knows or something like that. Because that is like a most ordinary, natural. And the me doesn't want to be that, because in there it cannot remain. The me needs to know what it is, or not. So by that absolutely not knowing or not knowing, the me gets just remaining and gets that. Just try it. And then the me gets lost on the way, but not by the way. By the way. Okay. Russia, all good? Not bad. The moment I look at her, she's laughing. It must be very funny. Since I know her, years. When I ask why you laugh, I don't know.
Nervousness.
country needs it. They predicted South India will be tropical, more tropical than ever. The rainfall is more. North India will be dry, and South India.
The Ganges won't reach the sea anymore in 2050.
No, if you keep talking,
Chinese are going to nick
if
it
you
all.
keep talking, it will be no danger. They're running because Ganga is running away from you. You just sit on the source and then you keep talking, and then the Ganga will for sure reach sea. So you have some duty to.
Some duty to fulfill.
Yeah.
Oh no, not again. What do you think I showed the end of? Just fed up with it. Keep landing on your bleeding.
We have already in Kerala, we have Amma. That's called get on.
Yeah.
Get on. Amma, get on.
Yeah.
That's Amma, get on.
Yeah, okay, I've got it.
Then you
Don't let me
become,
explain.
you become
I speak English. Better than you.
no. Unbelievable. The English cannot talk English.
No, I can talk nonsense. Unfortunately. It's the only one I can talk.
Yeah, that's what means sadhana. This book is like being married to him. If you can take that, you make it. Only 20 years ago, before Shoba and me, whatever, Stefano was after, whatever, coach, getting a crush on her. So Stefano said, okay, you both, they're sitting there, and if you both could be together for 5 years, one of you will be enlightened. Stefano. Sure. And they really made one production around the world talking about how it would be. And then Shoba the next day says, no, I'd rather be not enlightened.
Yes,
but
that's my experience.
for one time, they really thought about it. That would be. No, I tried everything not that I would not come together with him. So I tried to put it to Stefano, but it was no way out. So I have no power. I cannot. So the Colombian mafia took me. So there are some possibilities. If I see some marriages, it's really like that. One is choosing the worst guy on earth or the worst lady, and then they marry. If I can take her, I can take even myself. That got sadhana.
Yeah, that's cool.
If you have day and night a set Anna next to you, who really is trying hard to make you miserable. You're never right, or whatever you do is wrong, whatever you're hammering you day and night, always calling you the most important guy she ever met or something. Okay. But even that wouldn't work. Even if you could accept all of them. But some try. To fail.
It's a vain hope.
It's in vain.
It's a vain hope.
It's in vain.
Heroin helps.
Even putting heroin in the vein is in vain.
Yeah, but it helps.
Doesn't help.
It helps in relationships. Stops all the sex. All that nonsense. That's some serious mind fuck.
It's like when you are misplaced.
It's apprehensive.
So I'm this. I like that name. If the girlfriend comes undressed, yes, okay. What are you waiting for? It's right an invitation. translation. Every girl he says, "Hey, undressed." Okay. Perfect name, huh? If you are interested in these things.
And you can never catch him, he's always undressed.
He's always undressed.
Undressed.
Undressed? Why undressed?
Deutsch undressed.
Andreas then, not undressed. Your German is not so...
No, not so.
Yeah.
Nothing is not so.
Undressed.
Not so.
Litauen. Something.
I waited for the version to realize.
I think I have to unblock you. Unblock.
No. It's already unblocked.
She is Mrs. Block and I am unblocked. The block of existence meeting the Madam Block. Block forever.
Blocked forever.
Blockade. Blockade. Yeah.
Injury and the buckets.
So, now comes something.
Started with chaos.
Started with chaos.
Here it's noisy, because it's raining, so I can...
No, but this is really a topper here. This is an exercise. Attention. Attention.
Trying to understand.
So, Natalia. Huh? Something from Moscow. All good? Okay? Okay. She escaped Putin, then everything is okay. So, more question from the book of Eli.
Give me a moment.
You just, you go back to the...
It's the start, yeah, start again.
Can you talk about helplessness?
Yeah, that is where talking comes from.
Where talking comes from.
Yeah, because if you could help, if you really could be quiet, you would be quiet forever, because talking is very dangerous. So out of helplessness you talk. You cannot stop talking. It's like unavoidable. The unpronounced, that what is pronouncing everything, cannot stop pronouncing himself. That's the helplessness of that absolute pronouncer. Because the absolute dreamer cannot stop dreaming. Because his nature is dreaming. So the nature of the pronouncer is to pronounce. And by pronouncing himself, he creates a whole existence. As whatever can be pronounced. But you cannot find the pronouncer and all that what can be pronounced. So even the pronouncer, you can know, it's only something what is pronounced. So the pronouncer is something what is pronounced, but that what is pronouncing the pronouncer cannot stop experiencing itself as a pronouncer. So the seer cannot stop experiencing himself as a seer first, and then seeing and then what can be seen. So the helplessness of it's like an accident, you cannot stop realizing yourself. Reality in its nature is like helplessness, it cannot stop realizing itself. So even if you see everything as a lie, you will think that I don't need it, I just be quiet and go home and stay home forever, impossible. You have to be in spite of that pronouncing, the pronouncer, that what you are. So that what is hard or your core is helplessness. The Almighty cannot stop realizing itself, or himself, or herself, or whatever. It can be herself too. fits more.
And helplessness in terms of
Personal helplessness, it doesn't exist. The person can be helpless or an idea of I can help myself or I cannot help myself. But the helplessness is prior to that one. So the selflessness, not knowing self or not knowing self, is the selflessness. And then from there comes the self, who can or cannot help itself. A realized or unrealized self. But that what is realizing itself as oneself, was realized or not realized, can never be realized. So there can be a phantom self who is unawakened or awakened. But the selflessness is always the knowledge itself. That is the lessness. The senselessness is the same. Out of the senselessness comes the sensor, sensing what can be sensed. And for the sensor, something is senseless or full of senses, whatever. But that was the senselessness. You can call it inmost sense. The inmost sense. The senselessness. It's realizing itself as the sensor, sensing what can be sensed. And no way out. That what is what you are in nature. So that what cannot help or not help itself. So reality cannot stop realizing itself, that's the main thing. Because the realization that reality is not true. You are the realization, and you are that what is reality in nature. They are not true. Like ignorance is knowledge and knowledge is knowledge. There is no true, there is only knowledge. So the nature of knowledge is knowledge, the nature of ignorance is not different. So there is only sat, or chit, or ananda. Call it whatever you call that, what is believed to be. For that what is fit, there is no fit. So in that sense, and that is it's an effortlessness of being that what you are. So as a me, you make efforts or no efforts. And then you think this was effortless. It just came by itself. But to who? The effortlessness is just the nature, which is neither that or that.
So also this being within this connection.
Undecided. Having no sides, that's undecided. There are sides, but what you are has no sides. So yes, there are sides, but what you are has no sides. Because you are not any object to a side, so you are undecided.
Yeah, but it's not like an advice for daily life to say,
Of course,
oh, I don't
why not?
decide,
No, that's,
just
I never talk about daily life, just don't offend me. Daily life. Coming back to daily life. I want to employ what I say in daily life. Try harder, baby. Maybe none anymore, but one better one, for sure not.
Yes.
No,
You
that's
destroy
why
more
I wanted
relationships
to
than
ask you,
you
because it's not something you put into daily life. It's not, I don't
No, you
decide
try.
anymore.
You will try
But
anyway. You will try.
What is it then when
You
it's
cannot stop trying even to put that into daily life working for you. You will employ it. You will fail, but you try. You cannot not try. Even the understanding of what is not your understanding, you will make it your understanding, you will employ it in your daily life. You try to employ it. You try to have an advantage, even by that, but never needs an advantage. You will try to make it an advantage. Since I am what I am, I'm untouchable. Nothing can touch me. Things come and go just by themselves. Blah, 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 blah. This awareness masters I talk about. Things, I just stay in the awareness of myself, and then the things coming and they're just going. I'm welcoming and I'm well going, and this is just like a Like I'm stationary, I'm a train station and the train's coming in, the train's going out, but I am unaffected with the train coming, the train going in. But I'm unaffected by the train because I'm not a passenger anymore. I passed out, I'm not a passenger. I stepped out of the train, so I'm not in training anymore. Because before I was training to be what I am and live in peace. Now I'm not in training because I became a master. And when you're a master, you don't have to train anymore. You can rest of being a master. So I mastered my heart. I'm a heart master. And now I don't have to take a train anymore. And I don't have to pay attention because in the train I always have to pay attention. But now I don't pay anymore. I just let things come and go as they come and go. Especially me. Sounds good, huh? But it's too good to be true. It's still a relative advantage. And the question is always, who needs that advantage of being stationary? And the instant answer is always me. Me. I have an advantage that when there is no me. Who needs that? No, me. So let it be generous. Let him have this little impersonal claiming, my claim. Now I claim I'm nothing. Before I was something, now I'm nothing. And there's nothing, I'm better off. Because there's nothing can touch me. Good. Bravo, you made it. He defines himself before, he defined himself as a body, then as something else, and now he defines himself as nothing. Bravo. No. I have nothing against or for it. But it's just a ghost story. The phantom who once was something and now the phantom who is nothing. Oh, phantom and nothing phantom again. Ay. The something phantom and the nothing phantom. So it's all thinking in it. Something and no thing. Thinker and no thinker. So whatever is different cannot be what you are. That's why I say stay undecided. You don't know what you are and what you're not. Maybe not. Yes and no, or whatever. Just be undecided. But finding a better place, a reference point, for sure you decide something what is better than something else. You have to make a definition of good and bad.
So the two sides is like this good and bad that you accept, or that you accept that both of them are.
No, you always have a preference the moment you wake up. The preference is not being. Not being, nothing can happen to you. Being nothing, not being, peace. And on the other side, being, you're always in some trouble. Something happens, you have to take care, whatever. So non-being, no relationship is better than relationship. So that's a preference. Absence is better than presence. Hell, heaven. So you always choose heaven. Unconditional absence. And the conditional presence. So what is your preference? The unconditional. To being unconditional. And then the conditional. But it needs one who can be unconditional or conditional. That's a phantom preference. How can the absolute reality have a preference of that doesn't even know any absence or presence? By not even knowing to exist or not to exist. So that being absolute, that what never knows or doesn't know itself. It's neither. You are in spite of both, not because there is better than that. You don't even know that space. So all the advantages are relative. So you have an absolute disadvantage that your reality has to realize itself. You can call it the absolute disadvantage or the absolute advantage, as you like. The absolute advantage is that you don't need an advantage. And the absolute disadvantage is that you have to experience yourself in disadvantages. No. Does it make you more or less absolute? No. All is absolute. That's called non-duality. They are not two, not even one. So how can you be harmed or whatever, something can be done by, it needs always this two, this imaginary two. Choices. Or no choices. So, explain. Let's meditate on it. Oh, I like meditation. This is meditation. Then it's called in contemplation. Have something of all these ideas on the plate and then go. That's what you are is never hungry. You don't have to eat it. So you don't have to eat it, just eat it. Eat me up. Andrew.
Yeah. Yesterday you seemed to imply that being like in the human condition was a way that you needed to be in the human condition to kind of break free of it.
You cannot avoid it.
Right, because you talked about other states that you can go into
I
pure
say
awareness.
if you cannot be in the human condition what you are, you will not become it in any other
exactly.
one.
Okay,
So you have to be in this one. If you cannot be in this one, it's not worth anything. If you can only be in peace in a different state of mind or a different state of awareness, then it's a depending peace. The peace you are is what you are, in spite of all whatever ways you realize yourself. If you need a special way of realizing yourself, you're still a special one who is realizing itself in a special way. So depending on a special state. But does the absolute depend on any special state? So this is crucial. This is the worst case scenario.
Right.
Having a shit factory as home. Yeah, that's the worst case scenario. Everyone is so in love with his own shit. Everyone goes to the toilet, looks, laughs, and then very proud if it's a really big one, and wow, I made it again.
You had a good shit, yeah,
Wow,
for
that
sure.
was a good shit. Everyone is very proud. Wow.
Everything's still
Then
working.
what was this? Vegetable, meat, thing? Wow. I'm vegetarian, it doesn't stink so much. This is like a little advantage. Because I eat only vegetables, it doesn't stink so bad. But I have friends who eat meat, and I cannot use their toilet anymore. It stinks so much. Fantastic, yeah? And then we all know these friends. That stinks. So the only obstacle, the absolute obstacle of not that you cannot, whatever, just merge. And that what never needs to merge is just you're fucking in love with whatever you imagine. Believe it. This self-love, this love for yourself, is that what is the biggest hindrance, if there is one. Loving or hating it makes no difference.
Because it matters, and it is matter. I mean, because like the Buddhists also seem to say the same thing. They call it precious human existence, don't they?
Yes,
it's
not more precious than anything else, but it's just, as I said, if you cannot be in that worst case scenario what you are, in that hell of humanity, you will not become it anywhere else. So whoever is realizing itself in his true nature, in a different state or whatever, all the seven tralalas, he always comes back here and then he will be crushed again. What will cut him down and showing him how realized he is? Well, it's a nice song from Mr. Cash. What will cut you down? You can fly high, you can be awakened like hell, you can be realized, tralala, and there will be God. It doesn't allow you to be it for whatever. It allows you like, okay, for a while, let you play with it. But sooner or later it will cut you down. Then it shows you how realized you are and how solid your realization is. It's just a fleeting bullshit realization. That what never needs to realize anything is solid as a rock. That what you are, but that one who realizes in whatever deepest tralala of truth and things, it needs to be going deep or high or anything. It's such a fleeting shadow realization which will be just gone as a cane. Wow. Another one bites the dust. Was really dead. For all the realized masters, they will meet their master. Yeah. So one doesn't have to be jealous about all that awakened la-la-las. Just wait a moment. There will be, the Zen stick will hit them very hard. And then, because to be what you are in daily life, as you said, you have to try to employ it in daily life, and everyone will test you. If you claim that you are different and better, more realized or awakened, just wait a minute. The next girlfriend or boyfriend will test you. Or realize you are. So what to do? So that helplessness is like you will be tested. You will be tested. For wanking is the most important thing.
Yes, I agree with you 100%.
That makes sense. All a piece of cake. The idea of peace is a piece of cake for what you are. But for one who claims that he has peace, there are many sitting somewhere, I'm in a peace of mind. So what dependency is it? That you can only be in a peace of mind in peace.
Anesthesia.
Coma.
Anesthesia. Is a Russian girl, she anesthesia.
Katerina. He should be the husband of Katerina the Great. He would not survive one day.
Not even half of it.
Not even half of it.
Yeah, but I'd have fun, wouldn't I, rather than
You are chopping the heads off the lovers like nothing. Fun. So someone told me she had sex with horses. And true?
She was German.
Austrian.
no, another Austrian.
Doesn't matter. But I always check the Russian in Moscow and telling the stories. Katerina, I heard, even had sex with horses. And Rasputin. What you did? Carl must be joking. Good. Uzbekistan, you are ex-Soviet Republic.
Yes.
So how is to be ex?
Ex.
It's good to be an ex.
Yes.
But Putin will try hard to get you back in his kingdom.
No problem.
No?
And my mom said it was better.
I tell you, earlier, in the good old times, the future was even better. That's amazing. Because they had a future then. And now no one knows. So, that's why the good old times are always better, because then there were a future. no future. The trains in hell. Tell me more. What would you like to employ in daily life? The long list, Okay.
What do you mean with the two sides of the other side?
Two sides? The one side is your wisdom side, intellect, and the other side is your heart, love side. Yeah. So they're always talking to you. The wisdom from the left and the heart from the right. You're always fighting for attention. The wisdom tells you don't give the backer, and the heart tells you give the backer, and then you're always undecided. Should I, should I? And sometimes the love wins and sometimes the wisdom wins. Because wisdom tells you they don't need anything. So you have to make rational things. The other one says, oh, you have to. The one wants to embrace, the other one wants to kick it up. And that is like your permanent being. As a me. Always trying to find a balance. Trying to find harmony between them two. No? Like a relationship. Your heart tells you, the wisdom tells you, fuck it, fuck him. Or not? No. No idea. The best is you are neither woman or man. Women talk about emotions they don't have, and men talk about intellect they don't have. Both longing for something. Because you only talk about things you miss. Women talk permanent about emotions. There must be some missing. And men talk about intellect. Things. So there must be none. So women are intellect and men are emotions. Absolutely, I tell you. Women are much more cruel when it comes to a relationship ending than men. They just cut. If the man would do the same, they would kill him. You cannot do that to me. But if the woman is doing it, and you cannot take it, they have weapons, I tell you, they kill you with that. You know you did it before. I know you. The woman can never, like, I know many men that just became a woman who cut it like that. And then the woman, for years they cannot take it, again and again. But if the woman has done it, then it's okay. Sometimes a woman goes back and gets him back, and then he will take her, she does it. That's his life. Just stories. So I can make up anything and sing and whatever, and I can turn the whole thing around, but the whole concept of women and men is such a bullshit. What you are is neither male or female or anything, and just the conditioning of how you believe that you have to be, and genetic tralala or conditioning, whatever, you cannot change it. So what is there to do? In the 70s, all the men started to knitting.
You done it?
Yeah,
on Germany.
In England too, around the world, in America, everyone. Of course, everywhere. Because the modern man, he started cooking, knitting, all what they normally, and the women emancipation, working. But after a while, the woman say, oh, he really lost his guts. What the fuck? Now I have one who is cooking and knitting, but he has no guts anymore. Shit, something went wrong. Where are your balls? Peanuts now. By cooking. Taking care about the kids. And before, the women all wishing for that. Oh, if the man would be healthy and this one more soft and more emotional. But when they became this, if it really would, they kicked them out because what kind of wimp are you? As a man, it's the best. You can always only do it wrong. However you are, it's wrong. It's really like a sadhana, not a man. Because whatever you do or don't do, it's never right. Or that's an experience. It is never good enough or anything. You never fulfill. You can never make a woman happy. And I say thanks God. God, one can try. But don't expect by whatever you do that you can make anyone happy, not even yourself. And for sure not a woman. Because if you could make a woman happy, you would control her, and she would never allow that. That's the worst case scenario if someone can make you happy, because then by that he can control you. And you will never allow that. Never. That's really the worst case scenario. You wish for it, but you hate it actually. You really do everything against it. But there's someone around who can make you happy. It's the biggest prison ever. It's slavery. Like the song of Ray Jones, Slave of Love. So if no questions, I talk like that further. I can't talk about it. As women like love it, you say. And meanwhile I'm crying. Now some question about the bullshit I said.
No question. What I clarified after some moments I found answers. So
That's really bad. You have to find a gap between your question and the answer to ask it.
I like how you feel all importance in all things, but is it still something important?
What? To show you that everything is empty? No, that's why I'm sitting here. It's all empty or dead for you. It cannot make you more or less. That's the meaning of emptiness. Means it doesn't make you more or less as you are. All the experiences are empty for you because they don't give you anything. They don't take anything away from you. So that is joy actually. The enjoyment of emptiness. None of that events, none of this imaginary tralala concept of men, women. Being a man is not better than a woman or worse or anything. All of that cannot make you more as you or less as you are. So enjoy yourself in all that emptiness. That's the nature of joy. Being what you are, which is never more or less as that what it is. But to rest in that, that's as Ramana asking, you're abiding into that what is the natural state, which is never more or less. Your very nature, which is equality, which can never be more or less. There is no quantity in it. There is no more or less than what you are. You are more and less what you are. So when there is more, you are what you are, when there is less, you are what you are. So the more you don't become more, and the less you don't become less. So you are more and less what you are. So you are awakened and unawakened what you are. You realized and unrealized what you are. That is reality, which never knows, needs to know what it is and what it's not.
Nothing to care about.
No, carelessness is your nature. So you don't care when you care, and you don't care when you don't care. It's like where I say take care but don't care. So don't care that you care, because caring or not caring doesn't make a difference. When you care, so what? When you don't care. When you laugh, you laugh. When you hate. So in love you don't become more, and you don't become less in hate. So, loving, hating yourself. And the self never minds to be hated. As I say, you can call me underwear, you can call me the biggest asshole or the biggest piece of shit or whatever. What I am would never care about what you call me. Power maybe would kill you. But what I am, it's really, it gives a shit, I tell you. It's really like, you cannot offend what you are. There's no offense by anything. That's called peace. You cannot be offended by what you are. It needs two. It needs one who is different from something else to be offended by something. Or by something. And he was always offended. Even God, who has to exist, is offended by his own existence. Immediately. Instant war starts when God knows himself. Instantly he fights with himself. He wants to kill himself. But he never succeeds. But he tries. Yeah, everywhere. But it starts very early. When God becomes aware to exist, when God exists, he tries to get rid of that existence. There's even a jealousy already there. God is jealous about himself, about that who doesn't need to exist. So the existence, God is jealous about the God who doesn't need to exist. So already there's a preference of God. God has an absolute preference, God not knowing God. So the moment God knows God, God is really pissed. Wow. And then you see all the Brahmins running around. Pissed. Oh.
Good mistake. Pulling your Brahmins.
Your mistake. Yeah, good. Something else from the Brahmin.
It doesn't matter what happens.
It may happen or it may matter or not. It doesn't even matter when it matters. Or doesn't matter. It neither matters or doesn't matter. Whatever. So, I try to offend the women here and nothing works. See how powerless I am? I can't even offend women anymore. No one takes me serious. Yeah, England. What's your name now? Will. William. Do you have a will? Do you have a will?
I do.
Yeah. His body called will. So he's the only one who has a will.
Yeah.
No one else has a will.
All Englishmen have a willy.
Having a willy doesn't count. Being will, that's having will. So your will prevails. Willy the will. I like him. The most fucked up guy ever. Willy the will? Mink the will. You don't know Mink the will? Wow.
I'm missing it.
Oh,
yeah, okay.
Oh.
Tell us the story.
Did you live in the 70s?
Yeah.
68. You're a monkey.
Yeah.
Wow. 68 is a good late for the school. Everywhere I go, and you cannot know it too.
I wasn't listening.
You never listen to your mother even.
Probably not.
Well, he was like this Marian Faithful.
Marian Faithful with the Mars bar up her fanny.
And Mick DeVille, and they were like cool. They were also in the
60s.
rock and
Plenty of drugs.
Johnny B. Butcherman. Oh, he was rock and roll like that, but not rock and roll, but no, it was end of the 70s. It still is making music now. Okay. Music.
Oh, the connection was good. You talk about free will. How do you see?
Well, there was a movie about it.
Free willing. Yeah, no, I mean free will.
Anybody wants to tell us
That's
free will?
amazing. If you would have a free will, you could make a really stand up whenever you want. So where's your free will there? Because there's a free willy. Because the willy gets up when the willy gets up. Not because you want it. In spite of all Viagra and all of that, what you try, the willy goes up. Sometimes in circumstances you shouldn't get up. That's why in the 60s they invented this dancing not to close together anymore. Because it was too obviously otherwise. So men should be realized instantly by being a man, because men know Willy comes when Willy comes. In the coming. Especially when you don't want to come, he comes. So the Jello submarine does whatever the Jello submarine is doing. Well, free will is, I think, it's the same as, you cannot live without a free will, as a need. It's needed for doership, history. Without a free will, you cannot survive as a family. Because you have to believe that it's your will and your desire and that you own it. If it's not yours, you cannot remain as an owner. The ownership can only happen in the belief system that you have a free will. And then even the Bible tells you, or whatever, God gave you a free will. No, God gave you the experience of a free will, but it doesn't mean it's real. So I don't deny the experience, but I deny the reality. So you experience yourself as a doer who is, by his wanting something to do, doing something. And if that breaks, it's like a chain of doership, a history of doership. If that breaks, everything is wrong anyway. So that's why you make, when you're really drunk, you say, oh, I was drunk, like it's blackout. Because there's no one breathing there, but you have an excuse because I was drunk. Or you always find an excuse. There's some scenarios you drive in the car on the autobahn, on the highway, and then for 2 hours, 3 hours, no one drives. And then you wake up, oh, who was driving? I have to be more aware. What could have happened? I was not driving. Now I have to be, and then you really get exhausted. After 1 hour being a driver, doesn't work.
Can you not try trusting the fact you've got no free will?
Yeah, but then again, there is one who understands he has no free will. Okay, it's like another excuse. Yeah. First he is a doer, and then he is a non-doer. I'm sitting in Bombay now for years, and there are all these non-doers coming. Because they listen to Balsakar and things, and because of the doers, they became a non-doer. So I'm not guilty. It's all God's will, and I have never done anything, me having not. So since then, I've employed it in my daily life. Now I live a better life because I don't have this guilt anymore. that I've done something, blah, 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 so they have an advantage of it. So I say, okay, I have an advantage, but this is not what I'm pointing to at all. Because what you are doesn't need that. And this relative phantom, now understanding that it was never his doing, is still one too many who understood something. And that will normally is depending on understanding, and it will go. The moment your tolerance limit is crossed by, and then you claim again that you have done it. Because now they claim that they are understood or have done not to do. They now decided not to be a doer. So it's like by their decision, by their understanding. It's just the other side of the coin of ignorance. No, it's a basic thing. Whatever brings you an advantage is a disadvantage. Because it keeps this idea that you exist and needing an advantage. It just puts oil into that fire of ignorance. So every success is actually a sucking. So it confirms that there is one and you are one who needs an advantage. So even succeeding in something is even worse than failing. The failing is, for me, if at all, you always will fail. And they will fail too, because sooner or later they get shown how much non-doers they are. Because there's this technique, whatever went well, they forget that they are non-doers, they did it. But whenever something was not so good, God did it. Very nice. No, you are like a cloud, you have to rain, and you rain. When the water will fall, the water will fall. You will cry and you will cry, and nothing will happen. And even being the sky is an advantage, but even that is one advantage to many. It's amazing, but it's so profound, this example. Don't be the cloud, be the sky where the clouds coming and going and being always untamed and always free and thin. Who needs that? Again, who needs that? The question is who needs to be the sky, and only when you're the sky you can be happy. What kind of happiness is there? When you need to be the sky and not the cloud, and not whatever. Again, a relative advantage. So bravo, he became a sky, wonderful. We made it, yes, go for it, stay there. I don't say don't do it, but just enjoy it.
But it always confirms the existence of someone who is...
Yeah, it will happen. It will happen by itself. Every day, 90% of the day you are the sky. Because you cannot even remember what happened. Things come and go anyway, without you claiming anything. And only when there's a disturbance, you claim to be disturbed or you have done something that is out of the ordinary. If it's just running, there's someone calling.
Sounds like my phone. I swore I'd switched it off, actually.
It's always the one who is not listening.
Switched it back on.
Yeah, who was it? Your mother? No.
I've got no idea. It's a number I don't know. No. If it was my mother, that would be a real miracle.
Then you would be leaving God instantly. Good. No, I'm very bad. I'm so bad. Well, then the mind is so tricky, it says, but first I have to see that the sky is not my final thing. If I haven't seen it before, I have to go and see it for myself. But who is the self who has to see for itself? And who has to understand it for himself? And again, the same trick. So it's such a tricky thing. And the next trap is like, but I have to experience myself that I am not that. No, go for it. Go for it. I don't hold you back. Come on, baby, just go. If you want to go, go. But I see you again. You again. So then when I see you next time, for me it's sometimes infinite, it can be thousands of years, I will see you again. You may go, whatever you see, into some different realm of existence somewhere, into the fifth state, fourth state, or the beyond, you stay there for a while, but I see you again. And again, and again, and again. And next time there's nothing to gain as in this time. So again and again there's nothing to gain. But again and again you go somewhere just in case. Just in case you go to the blue sky, you go to the fifth cat heaven or something. Or heaven knows where you go, but I will see you again. So I'm absolutely sure I see you again. And again and again. We will travel for a while and we'll go into some imaginary escape points or some refugee points and ninth, whatever, state of tralala. But, you again. How was it? It's good that I went there. Now I know it's not. Yes, I have the gold medals. I went everywhere. Now I'm sitting again here listening to you. But when I tell you just be lazy and don't move at all, then whatever, the traveling happens by itself anyway. So be what you cannot not be in any bloody whatever. You are it anyway. So that nothing ever happened. No one went, no one came back. That's what Rama asked, where do you go? Where did I go? I never came. I am there. Where should I go? Where did I come from? This is what I mean. Jesus said the same. Wherever you lift a stone, you will be, or wherever you meet in my name, I will be there. That's called satsang these days. In the name of the self, we are meeting today, concentrating on our inner nature. So we will talk again. That's why I call it self-talks, we will never stop. There will be maybe a little interruption and then we talk again. Maybe that's the way you realize yourself anyway. You explain yourself infinitely. You are absolutely the explainer, the explaining what can be explained. And you will never be tired about it. You cannot retire from that. And trying to explain yourself. That's called consciousness. Inquiring into the nature of consciousness. Fantastic, yeah? And it will never stop or end because there will be no final, there is no final in it. The final understanding, the final talk, the final tralala. So that was the paradox. The ultimate medicine is that there is no medicine who can cure you. You will always experience yourself in sickness. What can you do? It's sick to be, and it's sick to be a sicker, and sicker.
But speaking personally, there's an illusion that there will be something that we'll experience impersonally or not have any sort of reference point, I guess.
But no reference point is just another one. Good luck. So hope never dies.
Hope never dies.
Because if it could die, it would be real. That's the main thing. It's like this, if the universe could die, or the world, or whatever, it would be real, because only that what is there can go. So because there is no universe, and there is no such thing as information, because they have no reality, they cannot go. If they would be real, you could make them go, you could kill them. But as they are not even, there is nothing what you can kill. What is that in this dream?
Me.
For the scientists these days, they cannot find matter, so as deep as they go into the matter, into the whatever strings and tralalas and got part in the particle wave, tralala, sometimes is wave, sometimes particle, depending on who is looking and what's expected or something. So they give up, but still they have this CERN, this big, where they want to make black matter or something, dark matter. And then there was other scientists say, watch out, we make a wormhole. The whole universe will be sucked into that little, fear is created again. And the other one, why not? Let's see what happens. And the other one, don't do that, it's so dangerous. Oh, it's dangerous, let's see. What you try to do is that what you, as God, as Shiva, you try to destroy the undestroyable. And by trying to destroy it, to make it, that there is something to destroy. With an imaginary, you confirm that there is something by trying to destroy it. How stupid can Shiva be, I tell you? Unlimited stupidity is running, even in Shiva. But who cares? Does Shiva get less in stupidity and more in knowledge? No. He can allow himself to be absolutely stupid, experiencing as a puppet chick factory, and nothing happens. Shiva is still Shiva. There's nothing to lose if experiencing himself as a shit factory. So what? Is Shiva less or the self less experiencing itself as Karl? Let's see. So what is there to gain? Or to lose? So you better don't know what is there to gain or not to gain. Maybe there is, maybe not, but the main thing is it will not make you be more or less as I am, or that.
I mean, there's no possibility of deciding to be undecided, is there?
When you're undecided, you decide or don't decide, but what to do? The decision is there or not. Doing or not doing is not a question. You're being undecided. When you say nothing ever, even when you say nothing ever happened, means what didn't happen? What is that what never happened? So you still want to know what didn't happen. What didn't happen? What is that? What that never happened? You will find a way to make it your next goal. I want to know now what didn't happen. Now I want to know what didn't happen. What is this nothing what never happened? So even that is a trap.
Absurd, yeah.
Whatever you pronounce is shit, I tell you. Everything is shit. The most profound shit. It's the most profound shit. And I am enjoying to talk shit, I tell you. Nothing is more entertaining as shit. There was never any sentence coming out of anyone's mouth which makes sense. It's such an absolute nonsense what can be said. Even nothing ever happened is nonsense. It's just another bullshit. Everything is bullshit. So what? You can only maybe a pointer like by all the happenings or non-happenings. What you are is what you are. Independent of something happened or doesn't happen. Just being absolute undecided. Maybe there was something or maybe not, but who gives a shit? Who needs to know that nothing ever happened? I agree nothing ever happened because there's not even nothing what can happen. Or anything happen there. Or whatever. So, but even that is shit. So yeah, if you ask me absolutely, I absolutely don't know.
I mean, yeah, somewhere, like, I have to say, I absolutely don't know as well, obviously, but there's a kind of a sense of...
Yeah, but that is your natural...
Yeah.
That's your nature. He never knows what is nature, what is not nature. It would never pronounce itself as anything. It can never define itself. And the definer is already what? An imaginary idea who then starts to define something, and claims that he knows something, and experiences something, and has a deep insight in the nature of reality. Oh, what can be a deep insight of reality? What can that be?
Yeah, it can only be defined.
It's a reality of shit, and only shit has a quantity of deeper and higher, or surface, and so only the consciousness has a subtle consciousness, a higher consciousness, a lower, a middle consciousness, or whatever. So already consciousness is shit, because only shit has levels. Levels of consciousness. And now Eckhart Tolle wants to transform human consciousness into the higher level. Fascistic asshole.
Say it again.
What?
Say it again.
Fascistic asshole. I know Germans and I hear them. Hitler came from that position. It's amazing that the big best intention, I don't deny the best intention of all the Hitlers and all of Neros and all the one who wanted to save the world. New Earth. Ugh. This one is not, this already is fucked up. The next one will be more fucked up. Just to have another world you can fuck up. Fuckers. What the fuck is going on? I like to talk about Ulrich like that. Because it's like a symbol of nice, loving. It's amazing that someone can listen to that guy. His jokes are so... I had really to step over a limit because he's such a nice guy. Normally it's hard to hit nice guys, but I made it. Fuck him too. Yeah, but it's like when God knows himself, he becomes a narcissistic I, a narcissistic God. So this is like a whatever. He wants to make himself a better God, or the world a better world. And all of that coming out of the good intention. But any intention is bad. Any, especially the good one. The good intention are the worst. Good people are the worst people, I tell you. If there would be people at all, I would kill the good people first. Because they're the most boring ones, and they're most fascistic, and they're just fun killer. Fun killer. Good girls go to heaven, bad girls go everywhere.
Bad girls are called fathers.
Yeah, it's a sticker on it. It's a book even in America. Even cowgirls get the blues.
Yeah, it's famous.
Ja. Spaßmörder. Partypupser.
Penicillin Penny.
All those good people. Sober, not drinking, not smoking. Eat vegetarians, I hate most. And the best news was that in Coca-Cola there is pig fat.
Oh, I know.
In
You
all
won't give us the
sodas,
numbers, will you?
in all sodas, in all chocolate, in all,
Yeah.
all pig fat, because without pig fat you cannot make a taste in anything. It's a taste carrier in every bloody whatever. Even in vegetarian.
The Dutch woman did the research and she has the picture of the pig. 700 and something different products with pig.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pig.
Which is just an E number, which no one knows what it means.
And then they change the bloody E number halfway through anyway.
Yeah, whatever.
Not bloody what do
Yeah,
they?
because it depends on what pig, German pig or English pig, and there's a different number.
Yeah.
No, but it's an amazing thing.
This is what the Muslims are really angry about.
Yeah, that's That's why in Paris it happened. Now we know why they made this terror in Paris, because now they discovered in everything there's pig fat. And now they're not kosher anymore. And they blame the Parisians because...
Why blame the Parisians though for that?
What?
Why blame them for that?
Because I blame all Parisians because in Germany Parisians called condoms. And the condom was exploding. So the Parisians was promising not to get pregnant, but it didn't keep his promise.
You call it Parisians, we call them French letters.
I know, but we call them Parisians. And in Spain? Condoms? Wasn't just condoms?
We call them condoms.
Yeah, but condoms means condom. Domus. Condomus. It's like God in a plastic shell.
Latex.
A lingam in a...
Latex lingam.
In a plastic cover.
Portuguese, it's camiseta.
It's a domus.
Camiseta.
Camiseta.
No, camiseta.
Portuguese.
Little shirts.
Cama, in a cama, seta. A setup in a cama.
Okay, dus we kunnen zeggen preservativos, like preservative.
Yeah, we say it in German too, preservative. Preservative. It's actually in every, in all the drinks, in all preservatives, all condoms.
Prophylactic.
Then in all the sausages, in all yogurt, all condoms included.
Prophylactic.
All condoms.
It's a prophylactic.
And you know what the difference is between yogurt and Americans?
Between what Americans?
Yogurt.
Yogurt and Americans. One has culture.
Yogurt has culture.
You could take one for your feet at least.
For my feet. At least.
Don't get cold feet now.
But then you don't get Shakti from me because it all goes through the feet. So
That's why you're not allowed to put your feet
Let
on
me say
people.
no.
No, we'll just auction the towel later.
Right, you can sit here and
we'll fight for the cow. In India there are so many concepts about where Shakti comes from and where...
Yeah, I saw
And
the
you-
Indians putting the mat on their head where the master had to
Yes. Drinking the water, they clean the feet and then they drink it. And
Yeah.
It's very common.
Very common.
But that doesn't
At least
change
there's no
things,
pig fat in it. But you know. They make sure there's no pig fat. Cold strong coffee. That's too much. So, good. Something else. From the foot.
Do you know the name of the saint in the cave?
Yeah, Varopakshana.
Mahavakshana, so the name is called
The cave is called after him. Ah,
Really?
sounds very natural, huh? It's like Ramana Ashram is called after Ramana.
Easy.
Varopakshana cave is called after Varopakshana.
Feel.
That's very easy. So, now you know who you talk to.
So who's the Shishyakri ashram named after?
Yashtre. Yeah, his name was Yashtre.
The ashtray.
Ashtray. Yeah, it's an ashtray. Ashram is an ashtray. You want to burn yourself into ashes. Ashram. Ram has to be killed in an ashram. That ram can be what ram is. With rum and without rum. Normally when you drink rum, you want to get rid of rum. Rumbok. Rams is a star sign. Aries. Ramba Tsamba.
Ram, thank you, man. Well, that's Wham.
What was it? Rolling Stones or David Bowie?
No, Wham.
No, it was before. Wham was covering. Wang Bang Sentiment. I think it was from the Stone from Hanky Tonk Woman.
Oh, Uncle Woman, yeah. She took me upstairs and
Yeah,
You're right.
they just had a divorcee in New York.
Unrefined heroism.
Since then I know what a divorcee is. When you're divorced, you see.
C plus. I
You can see again because before you were blinded by being married.
Blinded by the light. Here you go.
You're divorced. You're better divorced from everything, they say that. Like that's another technique, renouncing everything, divorcing yourself from anything. And then you can be happy. Or it's just confirming that there is one who needs to be divorced. Another rumor bites the dust. And Sadhu, who renounced the world, divorced from everything, doesn't own anything anymore, free as the wind. Sounds good, huh? This sounds like an advantage, I would say. But if you look deeper into the matter, you may find it's quite a hard life. It's like Dennis Joplin. Freedom is just another word for nothing left to lose.
Yeah, but that wasn't Janice, that was written by...
It doesn't matter. He was singing it. She's known by that.
It's the best line in the bloody song, yes.
It's the only line which was to
That's
remember.
the best line in all music.
Yeah,
Well,
one of them, yeah.
that and fuck off you bastards, or whatever.
Wild as the wind.
Why what?
Wild as the wind.
He says the best you want.
No, the best is a line of coke.
It's just another word for nothing left.
I walked the line. They say it's the best line.
Johnny Crash.
Johnny Crash. Yeah.
Contextually, just maybe connecting with David's point earlier on about daily life. I don't know
My daily life.
your take on, with this idea of not taking a position and not taking a position for all that, how do you go about what you do?
Well, I'm undecided. Sometimes I make decisions and sometimes I'm lazy and let someone else decide. Right. But sometimes it's like I make a decision. But rarely, but happens.
Confirm.
So last 2 days ago, I made a decision buying a Sony television. Because I was forced, because I talk every time when I sit here, what are you doing? I watch television, but I didn't have a television.
You're a prophet!
So I had to
Get one cigarette.
just in case someone comes to me at home and said, "Where is your bloody television?" I said, I have to make sure that there will be a television. So just to point you, one leads to the other. You just make one step, whatever, and then the decision comes from, you never where it comes from. It's already part of the making. One leads to the other. One event leads to the other event. So the decision is just one chain of the big, one part of the chain of all whatever happened before or will happen afterwards. Yeah. In reality, the future for me decides more what you do now than the past.
Yeah, you said that yesterday. This block.
Yeah, the future which is already there, because the future is already in the absolute potential of that what happens now. This moment is an absolute potential of all possible futures and pasts. This, whatever, is deciding right now, an absolute total decision of all the possible futures which will happen. So they're already there. So that's the future which is already there, can absolutely be the future which is already there. This what happen next has to happen. You cannot change that. So what is meant to happen, like Rama said, will happen. Do whatever you like, for it or against it.
So if there are multiple possible futures, or you
Yeah, it doesn't need to be one.
Why not?
Because why not many infinite possibilities of futures? Does it make a difference?
This has to happen now for all of
No, the question is, would it make a difference if it's one future, linear, or it's infinite futures? For who does it make a difference? Only the one who fears the future and wants to make it a sure line and controlling the events, maybe. You can prepare for the future. That's why you go to astrologers and you look into the stars, because you think you can prepare for that, what may happen or not. And for me, it's like if it says one future or infinite futures, who cares? It will be just what you are. So maybe I'm undecided. Maybe there are infinite futures coming out of this, or only one future. But does it make a future difference?
But is your argument, even if there are infinite number of futures, that means
that will happen? That what will happen will happen. What will happen will happen. If there are infinite futures or only one future, that what will happen will happen. If you go that future will happen. If you go that future will happen. And it already happened.
But that has more of a conditioning effect on now, you're arguing.
No, I don't argue anything. This, you cannot divide them. The absolute potential of life, that life which is now living itself, is the absolute potential in itself. Just realizing itself, reality. That will be then too, so it's already realized. It's already happened. So in the absolute Parabrahman already contains the absolute dream in itself. Before it even experiencing its dream, the dream is dreamt. So before the dream comes, before waking up happens, the dream is already dreamt. So in the absolute potential of energy, the almighty, absolute omnipotence in itself, the absolute potential life, everything is already there. And now it's just like you experience that what was already there before it even appears. So the future, maybe it appears that it appears, but it's not coming by coming, because it was already there in its absolute potential of the future. So nothing happened. Just nothing ever happened means, I would say, nothing is ever created. Nothing is ever born. So as nothing is ever born, nothing can ever die. So this moment is an eternal now. The next moment is as eternal as that moment before. So you just go from moment to moment, but it doesn't mean the moment comes and the moment goes. It's like out of the darkness, something appears and goes back to the darkness, but by going back to the darkness, it's still there. Only because you put your light on it, you see it, and then you put your light on the next moment, that you call time, but there is no time in it, because it's just the next expression of yourself, which is not coming and not going and going. So life is never born, and life never gives birth to anything. Life is just living life in its absolute potential. Nothing is ever born, nothing will ever die. There's an experience of birth, but in that experience no one is born. And there's an experience of death, but in the experience of death nothing is dying, or nothing dying. So yes, I don't deny the experiences, but I deny that something is real in it. So there is an experience of coming, but in coming nothing comes. In going nothing goes. So that's called silence. It's not a silence which is prior or beyond something.
Right.
This is a silence. This is silence. Nothing is happening here. Happening in the sense nothing comes and nothing goes. That is silence. So in all that action, whatever you call it, there's no activity. It's just frame by frame by frame by frame, and you're totally framed by yourself. In being the framer, the framing, and the framed. The seer, the seeing, one can be seen. We call it Eva, the Father, the Spirit, and the Son. You are the heart of all of that. And you cannot get out of what you are. And you're just shifting between experiencing yourself as a son sometimes as Spirit, sometimes as Father, sometimes as prior, sometimes as personal, 3 personal ways, and then 4 impersonal ways, but experience yourself personal doesn't make you personal. And experience yourself impersonal doesn't make you impersonal. So neither. It's like it neither makes you or doesn't make you anything. So what you are is always that what is what you are. So your very nature knows itself in whatever can be known, but never that what is knowing it. So that but the knower is already something what is known and is not your nature. You are the nature of the knower, the knowing and the known, but there is no advantage in anything. What disadvantage? That's peace. Who doesn't need peace of mind? Because in that there is no mind, because mind means two. Yes, there was never any two. Yes, there was never even any one. Because the absolute doesn't even have to be one to be what the absolute is. It can be infinite, it's still the absolute. It can experience itself in infinite, whatever, multiple tralalas, it's still the absolute, or as one. Being one is not an advantage, or being the multiple is not anyone. So you better don't know if you're one or not one, or many or anything. What would make a difference if you would be the one without a second? Who needs to be one without a second? An idea again, because one without a second has an advantage that there is no second. But who needs that advantage again? The one without a second is better as the one with the second. The with and without a second. It needs one who is with and without a second. But that one has a preference, because that one is a better one without a second. That's why they call it not one without a second, they call it non-duality. Otherwise they could call it just one. There's one. Then the question was, who is this one? No, neither one or not one. Undecided. What would be the advantage of me knowing if it's one or multiple? Or what is true or not true? You get tired anyway. The weather is depressive. That's always the main thing. I don't deny advantages, but it needs a phantom to protect them. And you cannot get rid of that phantom. So that's the life of the phantom. The life of Brian. It goes on as a phantom is alive.
He's not the jiva, he's just not evil.
It's not even full. Fully. Good. For doctor. You rest your case?
Yes, very good.
In peace. I rest my case in peace.
I don't know.
The eternal nutcase. I. What are you? I am the eternal nutcase.
I'll rest my case in broccoli.
Answer statement. Whoever asks what do you think you are? I am the eternal nutcase. I'm so nuts for myself. I'm the eternal nutcase. Because I'm just in case. There must be a nutcase. Nutty nutty. Law of nutty nutty comes neti neti. Screwed forever. He was a screwer, the screwing and the screwed. So rude. So the screwer, the screwing and the screwed. The raper, the raping and the raped. I like it more like that one because you're the lover, the loving and the beloved.
Yeah.
Oh, you're the fucking raper, the raping and the raped. The whole life feels more like a rape than a love story.
What about the buggerer, the buggered and the buggerer? Or something like that. It's even better.
The buggered.
You know, buggered it, whatever way you turn.
Buggered.
Turn around and you get buggered. Or buggered.
You're the bug, the eternal bug, the virus.
Much more
So why not calling it Because everyone feels like, everyone who wake up, it feels like a rape, and you have to do things you don't like your whole life. Even if you didn't want to get born in the first place. Then you get pressed out, under pressure, made under pressure. Sometimes with a Caesar cut.
Or forceps maybe.
And then comes, no, I think every second they do it with a Caesar.
Cesarean.
Cesarean.
Caesar.
Here in India, I think.
Really?
Everywhere.
They do it so they can deliver the baby within
Because time is precious.
Fuckers.
In the hospital they just do it, if it takes too long, they just cut.
They do it so they can go on.
No one can pay for that, waiting 8 hours.
Yeah, we'll do it longer.
Yeah.
It could be like 24 hours.
Yeah, but I mean, like, they just 10 minutes cut, bye-bye.
Yeah.
And now they make it, they glue it again, no one sees anything, so there's no reason why not doing it. Because the trauma of a baby is, they say it's less now. The shrinks are now worrying that
They're going to be out of work.
They'll be out of work later because the birth trauma is not so big.
Yeah, it is.
That is like the future. How can this simple thing then be ending up? The shrinks are shrinking. The shrinks are shrinking. Less shrinks because of that cesareus. Wow. Fantastic. Trauma. Trauma is a nice word because dream in German means Traum.
Yeah, but by them it's all trauma, by that baby is that they miss the birth trauma.
With the what?
Trauma is that they miss the birth trauma. The cesarean babies miss the birth
So
trauma.
they don't know if they're here or not.
No, they're waiting always for something. They're waiting when the
Waiting for the trauma.
waiting for something, yes.
Well, easy is sometimes not so nice. They're missing that experience of helplessness, that they have to come without even wanting.
Yes.
No. See the shrinks they make out of everything. They find a reason that you're fucked up. They will show you how fucked up you are.
Like deep thought.
They tell you the problems you never thought about. You may have. All the traumas and paranoia you never had an idea about that they exist. Suddenly you have them.
Not just the shrinks.
And you discover all these dreams you didn't even know you had.
And this you think your wife? No, because the biggest strings are the wives. The wife always tells you what your problems are. Yourself.
My wife was perfect.
That was your problem.
They shrink your underwear. On
Perfect
purpose.
wives are the worst.
They're the worst.
They are the worst. Fuck them all. Perfect wives. You
Oh,
have no reason to leave them, and then you're stuck with longer than you want.
I think you have to be perfect too. That's the big.
No, you don't. Maybe you know immediately you are failing. You will never be as perfect as your wife. You always feel like an underdog.
Yeah. Yeah, that's to tell me. Never good enough. Not quite good enough.
Try harder.
Nowhere near.
That comes from try harder.
Try harder. Faster, harder, softer, whatever. Fucking wrong again.
Then you have some wife who comes from what was his name, Australia, the only real Western master.
Very long.
Very long.
No, very long. Long fellow.
No, he Tantra, very long Tantra. Was, we called it soft penetration and waiting for an earthquake. Or the universe moving you or something.
Yeah.
And the one who moves first is losing. And 3 times sex keeps the prostate cancer away. And he died of some days
3 times
sex a day.
a day. Okay.
Keeps the prostate cancer away.
No, it's the
Like
target
the
area.
doctor's one happy day keeps the doctor away, but he made 3 times sex a day keeps the prostate cancer.
Yeah, he forgot to eat the apple afterwards.
Yeah. He forgot the apple.
A little detail.
Little detail was missing.
He forgot to take his own sperm.
You shouldn't destroy everything, baby.
No, well, you should at least take it back. You shouldn't give it
It's
away
like,
freely.
that's
should
why
you?
some of these tantra masters say crying sperm, because he always presses up.
Yeah. Suck it back up. Don't let anybody out, boy.
They have this white liquid coming out of their eyes and of the nose. They mainly have this running nose, but it's not what is normally liquid.
Charlotte. She's been your attention master.
Is that true? Is that true? Is that true?
Tantra master?
No, it's not talking about that.
I'm not a tantra master. So much pressure. 5 hours not coming and then what? Then
3 times a day, that's a full...
And then not coming and coming and then pressing it up your
That's
spine.
15 hours a day fucking. That's a lot. 5 hours.
What else can you do?
Well, I suppose,
When you're a tantra master.
You ain't got a wank more. Definitely got a wank more.
That is what they do. The headmasters. It's called masturbation. Headmaster. The masturbation.
Of course.
What is he talking about?
Talking about masturbation. Bloody hell.
No, the word comes from masturbation. The master taking a bath in himself. Orally. So when you are normally when you are in. When your urine comes, you are in that. Yeah, with no question, I talk dirty. This is the best. Only the one who has to be here. You cannot help to be here. Will stay. I tried it many times with Muchi people.
You still have to reach Papaji's level.
No, I'm not trying even. But I succeeded always with Muchi girls.
Well, yeah. Click lit.
10 minutes and they're out. No, I'm too stingy with the energy. Because when I saw some Papaji videos, he was shouting and weighing and just blowing them with his energy away.
They cut all that out of the videos.
What?
They don't show that in the videos.
No?
No, censored.
I saw only one when he made fun about Tony.
Tony when he was singing.
Not Tony Parson.
No,
Tony, Muchi is Tony.
when he was singing
Singing the album Shiva Shampoo.
Shiva Shampoo. It was fucking crap. I've never heard it done worse in my life.
So Papaji was
And he had no devotion in it.
Shampoo!
Yeah, right. You know, man. He had no idea what he was doing.
No, Tony didn't know what happened to him.
No.
Papaji just made fun of it. Tony, is that a girl's name? No, Papaji, I'm a man. Is that true? And then he wanted to sing the song because he was going away for a long time. Can I sing? Yes, Papa. Yes, Papa. Can I? Yeah. What? She was boo. And Tony can really not sing.
No, not at all. Tone deaf.
Fantastic. Then Papa, boo, shampoo.
He didn't even bloody pronounce it right, did he? Insult.
So good.
Embracing the great tradition that he's teaching.
I remember just this thing. 10 years ago there came someone and there was Muchi's birthday and someone said, there's this birthday party of Muchi, where are you going? I said, who's Mushi's party?
You have to buy a ticket and pay it.
Mushi in Germany is pussy. Who's Mushi's party today?
Yeah, well, that is the main attraction for most people, actually.
Yoni's. It's Yoni's birthday. Woo.
Nothing like a boat.
I should like him because all my childhood I was growing up with moo. All the cows around me, moo. I was milking moo. No, but now it's Shri Muchichi.
No, it's Shri Bulji.
It's Shri Muchichi.
Shri
Muchichi. Yeah, Shri.
No.
No? H, he's horrible.
It's Honourable Shri. It's Honourable Shri. It'll soon be a song.
The yoga, whatever flyers and things. HC Shri Muchichi. HH, he's horrible. Shri Muchichi. Indians are really make fun about everyone, especially when it's a Western guy sitting there like a big guru. 1,500 people. Wow. Now he stops hugging. That's really weak now. Amaji has 10,000, 20,000 for one weekend. And he cannot even 1,500. Something is... I never started that bullshit, so I have no...
Imagine Carl, everybody would come for a hug. Today, not so many today.
We can try today. It's only 14.
No, I'm too weak for that. I am much too weak. Germans don't hug. French hug.
Yeah, French kisses, they kiss very well, the French.
German men, they just make one hit on the shoulder or something. That's the biggest you can get.
Close buddies.
Do English people hug?
Your generation.
Not really.
Only the hippies.
Hey! Like a bum or something. That's our men. Men don't hug. If you hug, you're a hugger, not a fucker. Women don't like you when you hug. It's like if I'm like another woman or something. You have to make it special.
Since when you know that?
Once a year. Then it's appreciated. If you do it fucking every day, and it's just a normal bullshit. Like in front. There's nothing happening. Just an empty gesture.
Geisha. The best sort of gestures, empty gestures, like empty words.
Yeah, but they all should be realized in the also. In America especially, I love you. Have a nice day, I love you, I love you. If you make a German say I love you, he has to marry you. It's a promise, it's a marriage promise. If a German man says I love you, he has to marry you. Otherwise he has to pay. You're engaged in that moment. So we are really careful. I never say that. I could not. It's just like... What I deserve gegen spoke. Je t'aime mon amour.
Oh, I'm lovesick.
But it's much more healthy. You don't catch so many viruses and things.
Sexually transmitted diseases like life.
Shaking hands is enough. So already that is too much. Friends never shake hands, they just... Hey, boy, pom, pom. That's
I think shaking hands was to show that you didn't have a weapon.
Yeah, but Germans, they don't care. Andres, something.
Andres. Some people are not gonna like it.
What?
Some people are not gonna like it.
I don't want to like it.
No, something you are not going to like it. I'm very glad and I give you thanks to be talking again with you.
You thanked me that I started talking in Tiru again. Yeah, you're really bad. You remind me getting wet in the morning and getting some fluency just for fun. I just work on my immune system. You think I'm coming for you here? I'm working on my immune system.
Good job.
Must be 12. Huh?
Dancing Neti.
Almost.
Exactly.
Yeah. He is like making everywhere.
Kitty monster. So, good. Last question.
Can you talk, sometimes you talk about the Christian Trinity and what it means, but can you explain it?
Explain?
Or
You
talk
have,
about it?
you have to read the New Testament.
Too lazy.
Too lazy. They just come here, Karl will know, I don't know.
You with them. No?
What? I know. What did Jesus say it or Christ? Me and the Father is one. Who said it?
Jesus?
Yeah?
I don't know.
Guess. Just in case Jesus, okay. No. The Love Master Jesus pointed out, me and the Father is one, but I'm not the Father. Like saying I am and awareness is one, but I'm not awareness. Me and Spirit is one, but I'm not Spirit. Me and the Sun is one, but I'm not the Sun. Pointing to that what is heart. So being the heart of the Father, the Spirit and the Son, means that what is the heart, the self, which is experiencing himself as Father, Spirit and Son. And sometimes the Father is a personal Father, a personal Spirit, a personal Son, and sometimes an impersonal Father, an impersonal Spirit, and impersonal Son. So it's 6 different ways of that, but even then the experience of being prior to that, the 4th state, the absence of personal or impersonal. So there's 3 personal, 3 impersonal trinities. The personal trinity is the impersonal trinity and the absence of that. That is the 7 states, 7 dream states, or 7 ways you realize yourself. 7 ways of dreaming yourself. But none of that states is better or worse. They're just different. But you are the absolute dreamer who is dreaming himself in that 7 different ways. And none of them make you more or less as you are. That's all. As I said, but this is the worst case scenario. So here you start to have preferences.
And this is the Son.
This could be the Son, the one who is
personal
born.
Son.
Yeah, the person or the personal Son, the relative Son, or the absolute Son. The impersonal would be then the whatever, the 7th state of an impersonal experience of the absolute man. Not being the Son anymore, being the absolute man. Not being the Spirit anymore, being the absolute Spirit, who doesn't know any Spirit. Or being not the personal awareness, but being that what is awareness. But even that is not what you are.
And the heart of all of this is what you are.
Even you are not the heart. Because if you would be the heart, still you will be something. That's why the heart doesn't know any heart, and for sure has no heart. And that what is the heart has no idea of heart. It's not an idea. So you may call it reality, but itself would never call it anything. It's a pointer to that what is what you are. But the Taoists will say whatever you say about heart is one word too many. It has no, you cannot frame it in anything. Because the moment you give it a name, you create an opposite. Then it's heart, then for sure you come up with what is not heart. So the being undecided and what you are doesn't need to know what it is, absolutely not. And that even what calls it heart is one heart too many. That's very hard. So I would not call it anything, not love, not truth, not reality. It's all too weak. Even to call it a nominal is too weak. Even call it the Almighty, it's not fitting. Nothing fits. So you are always dressed here in some relative words and relative imaginary things, but your nakedness is still...
My nakedness is still what?
That's what you are. You are absolutely naked. Naked means there is no idea of what you are and what you're not. That's the total nakedness, or the poverty of existence. Wahre Armut des Geistes. The true poverty of spirit, which never knows or doesn't know what it is. Okay? It's enough Christianity. Okay. Sunday Mass.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for going. Oh,
Is he finished? Are you finished? Is that it? Is that 12 o'clock?
maybe on. I will see. No, it's just it makes it stronger, the battery, but I think the microphone still works. I will see. Maybe it's not recorded. That would be, for me, it doesn't matter.
Ich habe es hier.
Oh, he's got it, hasn't he? Yeah.
And I have to. He can give me the recording.
Yes.
Will not.